You are listening to The Standard Show, the podcast that brings you the stories behind the standards with Matthew Childs and Cindy Paragill.
The Commonwealth is a voluntary association of 56 independent and equal countries, home to 2.7 billion people. It includes both advanced and developing economies, and 33 of its members are small states, including many island nations. And its member governments agree to shared goals like democracy, trade and development. The Commonwealth Standards Network, or CSN, was established in 2018 to promote the use of standards to boost trade and development in low and middle income Commonwealth countries. The UK government helps fund CSN activities via its international development budget, and the programme delivery is managed by BSI. The CSN collaborates with national standards bodies, or NSBs, from throughout the Commonwealth, helping to improve the services they offer to their stakeholders to enhance the effective use of standards, leading to economic, sustainability and society benefit. With particular relevance for CSN members, this episode of The Standard Show is an audio-abridged version of a CSN report, Nature Market Standards, empowering national standards bodies to support high-integrity nature markets. Nature markets have huge potential across the Commonwealth, but they need strong standards to build trust and to make sure everything works smoothly. The report is a practical guide for Commonwealth NSBs, giving them the tools to support their stakeholders with reliable standards and services. With the right standards in place, nature markets can gain confidence, attract more private investment, and play a bigger role in nature recovery and long-term sustainability.
This is Cindy Paragill here with a reminder that you can rate, review, and subscribe to The Standard Show wherever you get your podcasts. And you can get in touch and find and follow us on social media too. All the details are in the show notes.
CSN Report, Nature Market Standards, empowering national standards bodies to support high-integrity nature markets. 1. Introduction. Imagine a world where nature's value is recognised, not just for its beauty, but as an asset that drives economic growth and environmental recovery. This is the concept behind nature markets. These markets allow the trading of nature-based credits, like biodiversity units, carbon credits, and nutrient reduction credits. Each credit represents a measurable environmental benefit created through conservation efforts. By assigning a monetary value to what we call ecosystem services, nature markets encourage investments that lead to tangible outcomes like habitat restoration, carbon sequestration, and pollution reduction. This approach aligns perfectly with global sustainable development goals, including combating climate change, preserving life below water, and protecting life on land. The urgency of addressing environmental challenges like biodiversity loss and climate change has spurred the development of nature markets. Traditional public financing isn't enough to fund the scale of recovery needed, which is why the private sector's involvement is crucial. This report offers a roadmap for national standards bodies, NSBs, in Commonwealth countries. It provides them with the tools and knowledge to develop and enhance nature markets. By leveraging existing standards, NSBs can attract investment, ensure environmental outcomes, and support long-term growth. It guides them through developing high-integrity markets, engaging stakeholders, and building the capacity needed to implement effective standards. Through case studies, actionable steps, and practical strategies, the report aims to empower NSBs to create thriving nature markets, boost private sector involvement, and contribute to global sustainability goals. 2. Context and current landscape. Nature markets enable the trading of environmental benefits like carbon storage, cleaner water, and biodiversity as credits. These credits fund conservation by assigning financial value to nature's benefits. Companies can buy them to offset emissions or support restoration, driving investment in sustainable projects with real environmental impact. As the world recognises the economic and environmental value of nature-based solutions, nature markets are rapidly gaining traction. These markets span sectors like carbon trading, nature-linked insurance, sustainability-linked bonds, and payments for ecosystem services, contributing significantly to the global economy. A report by the Task Force on Nature Markets and McKinsey estimates that nature markets contribute $9.8 trillion to the global economy, about 11% of global GDP. However, despite their growing importance, many of these markets remain undervalued and misunderstood, leading to inefficient capital allocation and underutilization of natural resources. One of the biggest challenges nature markets face is the lack of trust in the scientific methodologies behind nature-based credits. Concerns over the consistency of their application and the authenticity of credits have led to issues with credibility. Without trust in these systems, the environmental benefits they promise may be undermined, and investor confidence could be compromised. This highlights the need for transparent governance and rigorous verification systems to build confidence in these markets. Nature markets also face structural barriers, including policy uncertainty and limited institutional capacity, which can hinder progress, especially in some Commonwealth countries. However, there are successes. Countries like Australia and New Zealand have integrated nature-based solutions into national strategies. The UK, for example, is developing a nature market investment framework to attract private capital into nature restoration, aiming to mobilise £1 billion annually by 2030. To unlock the full potential of nature markets, Commonwealth nations must address these challenges by strengthening government frameworks, creating investor-ready market mechanisms, and expanding financial instruments. This will ensure both economic resilience and long-term environmental sustainability. 3. Key drivers, risks, and opportunities. Nature markets recognise and trade nature's value through credits like carbon and biodiversity units, driving investment in nature-based solutions, such as reforestation and wetland restoration. These markets help mitigate climate change, conserve biodiversity, and support sustainable livelihoods, aligning with global sustainability goals like the UN's SDGs. By assigning financial value to ecosystem services, nature markets incentivise conservation and restoration efforts, making them a key tool for carbon sequestration and ecosystem resilience. However, challenges remain. Regulatory uncertainty, fluctuating market demand, and the undervaluation of ecosystem services can undermine investment stability. Without clear valuation frameworks, nature-based projects may struggle to attract private capital, limiting their potential. Ensuring high integrity is essential. Nature credits must represent real, measurable, and lasting environmental benefits. Strong governance, transparent standards, and third-party verification are critical to preventing greenwashing and maintaining investor confidence. Opportunities within nature markets are significant. Financial tools like green bonds and sustainability-linked loans create new avenues for investment, making conservation financially viable. Public-private partnerships can scale projects by pooling resources and expertise. Meanwhile, technological advancements, including satellite monitoring and data analytics, enhance transparency and accountability, ensuring investments deliver tangible environmental and economic outcomes. By integrating nature recovery into investment strategies, businesses and governments can create long-term financial returns while addressing climate change and biodiversity loss. Healthy ecosystems support economies and human well-being, making nature-based investment a powerful tool for both sustainability and economic resilience. 4. Analysis of current nature market standards. Trust is essential for nature markets to function effectively, and well-defined standards are key to building credibility. These standards establish transparent, consistent, and verifiable frameworks for measuring and reporting environmental impacts, ensuring confidence among investors, governments, and stakeholders. They define high-quality nature investments, preventing fragmentation and greenwashing. As nature markets expand, rigorous standards enhance reliability and scalability. However, standards alone are insufficient. Governments must complement them with policies, governance structures, and financial incentives to stimulate demand and supply for nature-based solutions. Governments play a critical role in fostering a robust nature market. Policies must drive demand for nature credits while maintaining market integrity. Regulations can require businesses to offset their environmental impact, as seen in the UK's Biodiversity Net Gain policy, which mandates developers to purchase biodiversity credits. Carbon markets similarly enforce emission offsets through high-integrity carbon credits. Beyond regulations, governments can promote voluntary investments in nature-based solutions through tax incentives and subsidies. Transparency frameworks, such as the Task Force on Nature-Related Financial Disclosures, enable businesses to assess and report environmental impacts, reinforcing corporate sustainability efforts. Policies aligned with science-based targets for nature ensure corporate investments support broader sustainability goals. On the supply side, governments and market facilitators must support the generation of high-quality nature credits through local projects. Initiatives such as afforestation, reforestation, and regenerative agriculture enhance soil health and sequester carbon, while marine and coastal restoration efforts, such as mangrove conservation and blue carbon projects, support biodiversity. Wetland restoration contributes to water purification and habitat preservation, while generating biodiversity and carbon credits. Governments can provide financial incentives, technical assistance, and capacity building support to project developers, enabling them to scale up nature-based solutions to meet increasing demand. A strong market infrastructure is essential for ensuring project credit and operational integrity. Project integrity guarantees that nature-based initiatives produce measurable and additional environmental benefits. Credit integrity establishes clear rules to prevent overestimation, double counting, and misleading environmental claims that could erode trust. Operational integrity ensures sound governance and regulatory oversight, while buyer integrity ensures credits are used responsibly, reinforcing credible environmental claims. Effective nature markets rely on interconnected mechanisms. Crediting schemes work with nature-based projects to generate credits that meet strict environmental and social integrity standards, offering guidelines for project design, impact quantification, and verification, as well as issuing credits. Registries transparently track credits to prevent double counting, while exchanges and brokers facilitate trading. Market rules define consistent credit generation, verification, and transaction processes, while ensuring fair stakeholder participation and benefit sharing. Assurance and verification frameworks, such as ISO 14064, the international standard that helps businesses measure, manage, and report their greenhouse gas emissions, and the Integrity Council for the Voluntary Carbon Market, ICVCM, core carbon principles, validate environmental credits, ensuring they reflect real, permanent benefits. Adopting standards enhances investment by increasing transparency, consistency, and risk mitigation. Transparent crediting processes reduce greenwashing risks and strengthen market credibility. Standardized methodologies for project development, impact measurement, and verification prevent market fragmentation, making it easier for investors to compare and evaluate projects. Robust validation and verification frameworks reduce project failure risks, assuring investors of reliable returns. Furthermore, standards integrate multiple environmental benefits, such as carbon sequestration, biodiversity conservation, and water quality improvement, promoting a holistic approach to nature-based investments. This comprehensive strategy maximizes both ecological and financial gains. The UK Nature Impact Fund illustrates how standards can attract capital by ensuring projects meet high integrity criteria. Through standardised frameworks, the fund has successfully drawn investors and issued verified carbon and biodiversity credits, demonstrating how well-structured nature markets create a trustworthy investor environment. Several standards have been developed to support nature market growth. The BSI Flex 700 series establishes comprehensive frameworks for market integrity. BSI Flex 701 defines overarching principles for designing and operating credible nature markets. BSI Flex 702 ensures biodiversity projects deliver measurable, lasting benefits, while BSI Flex 703 and 704 focus on carbon and nutrient reduction markets. BSI Flex 705 and 706 emphasise community participation and governance, ensuring equitable stakeholder engagement in nature-based projects. These standards align with global initiatives, such as the ICVCM and IAPB, to ensure market compatibility and facilitate cross-border transactions in biodiversity and carbon credits. The ICVCM core carbon principles provide a globally recognised benchmark for high-integrity carbon credits, ensuring credibility for investors. Similarly, the IAPB establishes transparent biodiversity investment frameworks, supporting measurable conservation outcomes and facilitating international biodiversity credit trading. Aligning with these standards strengthens nature markets in Commonwealth countries and beyond, attracting private investment in ecosystem restoration and conservation. Additional frameworks, such as the Task Force on Nature-Related Financial Disclosures and the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, further integrate national and global sustainability efforts, ensuring nature markets contribute to long-term environmental goals. To strengthen nature markets, countries can adopt internationally recognised standards, such as those from ISO and BSI, while adapting them to local contexts. This approach ensures alignment with national priorities and ecosystems. Collaboration among governments, businesses, and civil society is crucial for building consensus and ensuring effective implementation. Tailored assurance frameworks and pilot projects can further build trust and demonstrate these standards in action. By aligning with global best practices and leveraging market opportunities, countries can unlock private capital for nature recovery and contribute to global biodiversity and climate goals. With strong governance, clear policies, and robust standards, nature markets can drive large-scale investment in ecosystem restoration, biodiversity protection, and climate resilience. By ensuring transparency, accountability, and consistency, these markets can accelerate nature recovery and generate lasting environmental and economic benefits. 5. The role of NSBs in stakeholder engagement for nature markets creation. Nature markets, particularly in Commonwealth countries, can benefit greatly from engaging investors, policymakers, and conservation bodies. One key strategy is leveraging collaborative platforms that incentivise private sector participation. Platforms like the UK's Nature Investment Standards Hub provide a structured environment where stakeholders can collaborate, share best practices, and contribute to the development of nature market standards. While this hub is UK-based, Commonwealth national standards bodies could develop similar platforms tailored to their specific national or regional needs. These hubs would allow for transparency and the sharing of tools and knowledge, building confidence among stakeholders and creating opportunities for private sector investment in nature-based solutions. In addition, the UK Nature Impact Fund offers an excellent model for attracting private sector investment. This fund provides financing for biodiversity net gain projects and invests in businesses focused on nature restoration, such as those offering monitoring, reporting, and verification services. This approach could be adopted by Commonwealth countries to stimulate nature-based investment and bridge capacity gaps in local ecosystems. Another example is Brazil's Nature Investment Lab, which facilitates the development of financial models and regulatory frameworks for nature-based investments through public-private partnerships. Commonwealth NSBs could establish their own investment labs to co-design financial solutions and regulatory pathways, ultimately reducing transaction costs and encouraging private sector engagement. Aligning government policy with nature investment standards is another critical strategy. The UK has established a robust framework to ensure the fairness and effectiveness of nature markets, incorporating BSI standards that help build investor confidence. Commonwealth countries could adopt similar frameworks, aligning policies with nature investment standards to provide consistency and foster growth in these markets. Additionally, the Community Inclusion Standard in Scotland provides a model for ensuring that nature-based projects deliver community benefits, addressing social equity and enhancing the reputation of investors. This model could be applied in other Commonwealth nations to integrate social benefits into nature investments. Successful stakeholder engagement can also be demonstrated by various international case studies. For instance, in Kiribati, community-based fisheries management integrates traditional knowledge with modern conservation practices, leading to healthier fish stocks and improved food security. This participatory approach has proven effective in promoting sustainable resource management. In the Pacific region, the Partnership on Ocean Acidification involves multiple nations working together to build resilience against climate change through research, policy development, and community engagement. This collaborative approach has helped support the livelihoods of communities dependent on marine ecosystems. In New Zealand, the NSB plays a crucial role in developing environmental standards that promote sustainability. By using standards like ISO 14001, environmental management systems, and various local certifications, the NSB helps businesses implement best practices in areas such as air quality, sustainable forest management, and energy efficiency. This approach has enabled New Zealand to align its policies and international environmental goals while reducing environmental impact and promoting the transition to cleaner technologies. These examples demonstrate the importance of stakeholder engagement and the role of NSBs in driving sustainable development through effective standards and frameworks. 6. How NSBs can leverage nature market standards in the Commonwealth. To build knowledge and awareness for nature-based solutions, community engagement is essential. This can be achieved through workshops and webinars to educate policymakers, investors, and communities about the economic and environmental benefits of nature-based solutions. Success stories from similar low-income regions, such as community-led reforestation projects in Uganda or sustainable agriculture efforts in Malawi, can serve as models. Low-cost communication tools like radio programs and local newspapers can be used to reach rural and indigenous communities. Partnerships with international organisations like the UN Environment Programme and the World Bank's Pro-Blue and Pro-Green initiatives can provide both technical expertise and funding. Collaborating with NGOs and development agencies can help design projects that align with international best practices, without requiring local, nature-based solutions to create new standards. Training stakeholders in the implementation of these standards is also crucial. This can involve offering training on monitoring, reporting, and verification for nature-based solutions projects, using free or low-cost tools such as the UN Development Programme's Nature for Development platform. Universities and technical institutes can also be partners in developing short courses on nature investment for policymakers and entrepreneurs. Local hubs for sharing knowledge, such as online platforms and regional workshops, can further facilitate the exchange of experiences among stakeholders. Leveraging existing standards and frameworks is another key approach. Global standards like ISO 14001, the International Union for the Conservation of Nature Global Standard for Nature-Based Solutions, and the BSI Flex 700 series can be adapted to local contexts, reflecting specific ecosystems, cultural practices, and regulatory gaps. Focus can be placed on sectors with high potential for private investment, such as sustainable agriculture or community-based carbon sequestration projects. Governments must integrate nature-based solutions into national development strategies through clear policies. Aligning nature investment frameworks with global sustainability goals ensures stability and access to international funding. Policies should aim to enhance investor confidence, facilitate access to green finance mechanisms, and strengthen cross-border trade by aligning with international environmental and financial standards. Fiscal incentives like tax breaks, subsidies for companies adopting sustainable practices, and blended finance mechanisms can further stimulate private investment. Additionally, regulatory sandboxes, controlled spaces for testing new business models, can help refine nature investment projects before scaling them up. Green infrastructure mandates and environmental compliance credits can create demand for nature-based solutions, promoting biodiversity and resilience in urban areas and industries. For example, the UK's Green Infrastructure Framework encourages developers to incorporate nature into urban planning, creating opportunities for nature markets. To mobilise private sector investment, de-risking investments through guarantees or co-investments in high-potential projects, such as agroforestry initiatives, can be effective. Blended finance models, such as public-private partnerships, can further attract investment. Lastly, using data and technology, including low-cost monitoring tools like satellite imagery and mobile apps, can help build trust by providing transparent and reliable reporting of project outcomes.
The Commonwealth, a global network of 56 equal and independent nations, is a powerhouse of trade and development spanning 5 continents and home to 2.7 billion citizens. With a shared language, values, and trading frameworks, Commonwealth nations enjoy the Commonwealth advantage, trading 20% more, attracting 10% more investment, and reducing bilateral trade costs by 21% compared to non-members. However, many low and middle income Commonwealth nations struggle to adopt and influence international standards, limiting their trade potential. That's where the Commonwealth Standards Network, the CSN, steps in. Launched in 2018 and managed by BSI, CSN helps governments, national standards bodies, and businesses enhance their use of international standards, boosting trade and economic growth. Backed by 4 rounds of UK government funding, CSN has delivered transformative impact on quality, such as Belize's national quality policy, on standards reform, such as St. Lucia adopting more than 400 international standards, and on business growth, such as Uganda's private sector benefiting from adopting standards. As 80% of trade relies on standards and regulations, CSN is breaking barriers and opening markets, fostering stronger, fairer, and more cooperative trade across the Commonwealth. To find out more about the impact of the CSN, check out the link in the show notes.
7. Training and capacity building for NSBs so they can effectively promote nature markets. National standards bodies in Commonwealth countries can greatly enhance their capacity by leveraging international training programmes. Engaging with ISO's capacity building initiatives is one way to do this. These programmes offer technical solutions aimed at helping NSBs implement the UN 2030 Agenda and its 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Through these initiatives, NSBs can improve their operational and technical capabilities, gaining the knowledge and skills needed to apply good standardisation practices. ISO conducts regional and national activities to help NSBs better serve their country's standardisation needs, including diagnostic tools like self-assessments, with 88.5% of NSBs having completed them. Additionally, NSBs can work with other international organisations, such as the World Bank, the UN Development Programme and the UN Environment Programme, which provides specialised training on topics related to nature investments and sustainable development. These organisations offer technical assistance in areas like project management, monitoring and evaluation, and stakeholder engagement, all of which are crucial for successful nature-based projects. NSB should also invest in developing tailored training programmes for their staff, focusing on leadership development and succession planning to ensure capable leadership, training staff and board members to lead effectively and make sound decisions will foster long-term success. Moreover, NSBs can create customised training on nature investment standards, incorporating tools like the UN Development Programme's Nature for Development platform, which offers low-cost solutions for monitoring, reporting and verification in nature-based solutions. Online learning platforms provide another avenue for enhancing NSB capacity. E-learning programs offer flexible and accessible training on nature investment standards, project management and standardisation practices. NSBs can also organise webinars to share best practices and engage stakeholders such as policymakers, investors and conservation bodies. These webinars can facilitate knowledge exchange and foster collaboration. Fostering partnerships and knowledge sharing is essential for NSBs. Collaborating with international organisations, NGOs and development agencies allow NSBs to access technical expertise and resources, enhancing their capabilities. Additionally, involving stakeholders in the development and implementation of nature investment standards through workshops, focus groups and public consultations promotes inclusive decision-making. Finally, NSBs can conduct workshops, conferences and site visits to bring together various stakeholders. These events provide platforms for networking, knowledge exchange and hands-on learning, helping stakeholders better understand the practical applications of nature investment standards and their impact. By adopting these strategies, Commonwealth NSBs can build their capacity to support nature investments and contribute to sustainable development. 8. Case studies and best practices. Several successful nature recovery projects and investments have shown the potential of community-based initiatives and international partnerships. One example is Uganda's Community Carbon Initiative, which generates carbon credits through reforestation and agroforestry, benefiting local farmers with income from carbon sales while restoring degraded forests. This project highlights how low-income communities can participate in carbon markets, attracting private investment through international standards. In the Solomon Islands, the Blue Economy Fund, supported by the World Bank's Pro-Blue initiative, mobilises private investment for sustainable fisheries and mangrove restoration. This initiative creates jobs while protecting critical coastal ecosystems for climate resilience, showcasing the effectiveness of blended finance in small island states. In Malawi, an agroforestry certification pilot led by a local NGO adapted the Rainforest Alliance standard to certify smallholder farmers' agroforestry practices. Certified farmers gained access to premium markets, increasing their income and supporting biodiversity. Similarly, Grenada's climate resilience financing enabled rapid recovery after Hurricane Beryl in 2024 by activating disaster clauses in debt agreements, which allowed for financial flexibility to restore ecosystems and infrastructure. The Recover project, which spans Fiji, the Maldives and Mauritius, strengthens climate resilience in small island developing states, SIDS, through community-led, nature-based solutions. Lastly, Fiji's Ridge to Reef initiative, supported by the UN Development Programme, integrates nature-based solutions into climate adaptation, showcasing how Pacific SIDS can leverage global frameworks to attract investment for nature recovery. 9. Monitoring and evaluation. National standards bodies can use various methods to measure the impact of nature market standards. Quantitative metrics involve tracking market confidence by assessing investor participation rates, deal sizes and repeat investments, alongside surveys to evaluate investor perceptions of standard credibility. Project performance can be measured by tracking biodiversity outcomes, such as species counts and habitat restoration, as well as carbon sequestration rates and nutrient reduction levels using standardised monitoring, reporting and verification systems. Qualitative methods include gathering stakeholder feedback through interviews with investors, communities and policymakers to evaluate the effectiveness and integrity of standards. Case studies can also provide valuable insights into best practices and challenges in standard implementation. Technology-driven solutions such as remote sensing can monitor land use changes and ecosystem health in real time, reducing verification costs. Blockchain technology offers transparent, immutable record keeping for nature credits, helping to combat fraud and build trust. Key performance indicators for tracking progress include market update metrics, environmental impact indicators, social and economic outcomes, and policy alignment. These KPIs can help measure the success of nature market standards in promoting investment, achieving environmental goals, and improving community outcomes. 10. Recommendations and next steps. National standards bodies should focus on adopting and customising existing global frameworks to suit local contexts, particularly in sectors with private investment potential, such as agriculture and forestry. Collaboration with international funders and NGOs is essential to access technical support and funding for implementing these standards. Additionally, NSBs can utilise low-cost e-learning platforms and webinars to train stakeholders like policymakers, investors and communities on nature investment standards. Stakeholders also play a key role. Investors should demand high-integrity standards with third-party validation to mitigate risks and ensure project impact. Policymakers are encouraged to integrate nature investment standards into national climate and biodiversity policies and provide fiscal incentives to attract private participation. Communities must be actively involved in co-designing projects to ensure they address local needs, such as job creation and infrastructure development. A proposed timeline includes awareness workshops and adapting global standards in the first year, followed by pilot projects and the establishment of validation bodies in the second year. Scaling successful projects and refining policies would follow in year 3, ultimately fostering private investment in nature recovery. 11. Conclusion. This report has explored the crucial role of nature investment standards in strengthening market confidence and attracting private sector investment for nature recovery in Commonwealth countries. Through an analysis of the current landscape, key drivers, and existing standards, we have identified practical steps and actionable recommendations for NSBs to enhance nature markets. By adopting and implementing these standards, NSBs can establish a predictable and credible investment environment, mitigate risks of project failure, and ensure nature projects generate genuine, measurable, and lasting environmental benefits. The report has highlighted successful case studies from around the world, including the UK Nature Impact Fund, the Nature Investment Lab in Brazil, and community-led initiatives in Uganda and the Solomon Islands. These examples demonstrate how nature investment standards can encourage private sector participation, support environmental outcomes, and drive sustainable development. By drawing lessons from these cases, NSBs in low-income Commonwealth countries can develop customised strategies to promote nature investments and establish high-integrity markets. The recommendations emphasise practical, collaborative strategies that NSBs can implement to strengthen nature investment. These include leveraging existing international standards, forging partnerships with global organisations, fostering stakeholder engagement, and prioritising capacity building through training and knowledge sharing. By applying these strategies, NSBs can overcome resource limitations and develop markets that generate both environmental and economic benefits. In conclusion, nature investment standards present a transformative opportunity for Commonwealth countries to tackle biodiversity loss, attract private investment, and achieve sustainable development. By working together, NSBs and stakeholders can establish high-integrity nature markets that drive economic growth while advancing global climate and biodiversity goals. The time to act is now, and the roadmap outlined in this report provides a clear path for NSBs to unlock nature investment's potential and create a more resilient and sustainable future. Now, if you want to know more about the themes and issues raised in this report, and to read the full report itself, then check out the links in the show notes. And the show notes are also where you can find details of our socials and all the other ways to get in touch with us here on The Standard Show.
You have been listening to an episode of The Standard Show, the podcast that brings you the stories behind the standards, with Matthew Childs and Cindy Parakill.
You just heard a Stripped Media production.